Welcome back to Killer Stories. I'm your host, Bobby Holmes, and this is Killer British Murder Stories, Volume 3. I am joined once again by my friend, Stuart Blues, host of British Murders.
Hello.
Hence the mashup of our podcast names. And I just get to sit back while Stu tells the story. I'm sure we'll get some random facts in there, because that's, if you've ever listened to his show, that's how he does it.
My show's like 5% true crime, 95% nothing to do with the crime. But,
do you have your stack of dad facts there?
Yeah, do you want me to do one? Should I do one? I recorded a jingle which is going to debut in season 4 of My Little Girl.
Oh my
so
gosh.
That's going to be
She
cute.
did the jingle?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Welcome to Daddy Facts.
Oh. That's adorable.
Yeah. Sounds like she can't speak really well, but she just, when you want them to speak on cue, they don't, do they?
Right. No.
So You want a dad fact, yeah?
I do.
So this one, on my show, basically, when I start the show, I do a stupid little dad fact just to break the ice. It's like a deck of cards that my daughter got me a couple of years ago for Father's Day, and they've got facts on there that all dads are meant to know, and I know basically none of them. So this is about shaving. It says, shower before shaving to ward against red razor bumps. The heat from the shower will help soften the hair and open the pores.
That does make sense.
I mean, that's obviously, as a guy, probably relating to the facial hair. But I don't use a razor to shave my facial hair. I just use a hair trimmer.
Same with my husband. He hasn't shaved since our wedding day.
Damn.
Yeah. Over 8 years ago.
Well, if he does, then what he needs to do is to have a shower first, because that will ward against red razor bumps, and the heat from the shower will soften his pores, and then it'll be beneficial.
Any ever waffling to get out of the way? Is your kiddo still biting at school?
Wasn't biting, it was pushing.
Pushing? I thought it was biting.
No.
Anyways, we kindergarten. We've got some fun stories. We've got like 3 incident reports, and past week someone took his ball out at recess and he tackled them to get it back. And we're like, oh, okay, we're gonna talk to him because all this stuff's happening, and we're like gonna let him calm down after school. We'll talk to him first thing before school, so it's fresh in his mind, right? But we're watching football, American football, that night, and he's like, so if someone has the ball and you want the ball, you tackle them and take the ball. And I'm like, oh, shit, it's football. That's where he's getting this. So then we have to explain, the game and padding and safety, and you're not supposed to do that. And yeah, so it's been fun.
Turn up to school in a helmet next.
Yeah. Speaking of American football and football, you watch Ted Lasso?
Who?
Oh my gosh, it's so good. So it's on Apple TV. It's an Apple original. And it's a guy who is an American football coach, and he gets hired to go to Richmond to coach football, as in soccer. And it's hilarious. Talks like a cowboy, is all Southern, and he knows nothing about football. And it's just really funny. I feel like you would like it.
I might have to check it out.
All right, I'm done waffling if you're done waffling.
I'm done waffling. So,
all right.
First of all, appreciate you having me back on for the 3rd time on Killer Stories. Now, the first one I told was Julia Wallace, British murder story. The second one was the non-murder story of Reinhard Sinaga. Yes. This time I'm going back to the British murder style, seeing as though that's my show. A little plug there. But the thing with this one is, and I only realised this when I started researching it, how I came across this case was I heard it on the news randomly, and I thought, that sounds interesting, because it's got links to America. And it was only when I started researching it that I was like, shit, the guy's not even been sentenced yet.
I know, there's so many fresh stories that I want to cover, but it kind of cuts it in half when you don't have that information.
But it's still, pretty interesting. I don't know when this will be released, but the guy I'll be talking about is due to be sentenced on Monday, September 27th, 2021. And now it's Sunday, September 19th, 2021. So it's
very soon.
Just over a week away, he'll be sentenced. So
we'll have to do an update.
Yeah, we can update people next time. But basically, as I say, it's an interesting story. The guy is called Ricardo Linton, and as far as I can tell, he was born in Jamaica. Now, have you ever been to Jamaica? Because it's closer to you than it is to me.
Have not been to Jamaica. I have not been to many places, too. Costa Rica and Mexico.
Absolutely killed the conversation. Dead.
Oh. Have you been to Jamaica?
Oh, no. So let's move on.
Oh. I've seen that bobsledding movie.
Cool Runnings.
You know what? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
another one. Yeah.
That's about my only link.
We like that here. Yeah. Fun fact, though, there's a place in Jamaica called Huddersfield, which is the town I'm from in England. That's where I was born and grew up. And I've got some history about Jamaica's Huddersfield. It's a bit of a historical tangent, which, as you know, I enjoy.
Yes.
Between 1822 and 1832, the 33rd Regiment of Foot, don't know what that means, recruited from West Yorkshire, which is the county Huddersfield falls in, was stationed in Jamaica. At the end of the tour, 142 men chose to remain in Jamaica, having married and raised families there, some of which are thought to have originated from Huddersfield, and then the name just stuck.
Gotcha. So immigrants from the original town, then they renamed the town, basically.
If you want to break it down like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Immigrants,
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't that the proper term?
What's the difference between immigrants and people who emigrate? Is one like, what's the difference? That sounds stupid.
I don't know. Emigrate?
People, you know, I'd emigrate. People emigrate to Australia, like they choose to go and live there. But immigrants, and maybe it's the legalities of it.
I'm the wrong person to ask. Sorry, I don't know.
I forget who I'm talking to sometimes. It's a fun little fact I keep in my pocket whenever Jamaica comes up in conversation.
Yeah, here we are.
It makes me feel sort of weirdly proud. I don't know why.
Because you're from there.
Well, Bob Marley's there, and, you know, there's a Huddersfield there, you know.
Yeah.
But let's come back to Ricardo Linton. So, as with a lot of these stories, these more sort of rural stories, there's not much info about their early life. And I think that's just because prior to committing that first crime, they basically have ordinary pasts, and there's not much info available. If you've lived a normal life and you've never been in trouble with the law, there's not going to be much background about you, is there? Especially from decades and decades ago. But what it did is it moved from Jamaica at some point up to the east coast of America, and he settled down in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
Have you ever been to New York?
I have been to New York.
Whereabouts?
I don't think we didn't go to Brooklyn, though. We stayed right in Times Square and went around Manhattan. Yeah, we did touristy shit.
Bloody tourists.
Well,
you got to stay there with the real locals.
We did ride the subway the wrong way, like a very long time, and have to turn around and ride it back.
Subways.
We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Not there.
But we've just recently passed the 20th anniversary of 9/11. How crazy is that?
Yes, we did.
Crazy.
I did. I went to the memorial. They have like a museum there.
Mm-hmm. I've been, yeah.
You have?
Yeah, I've been a few times to New York, yeah. Got friends over there.
You did the touristy shit too, didn't you?
I did the first time, but then I, hung around with the locals.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, touristy shit.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, do you remember where you were on 9/11? Out of interest.
Yeah, I was in my history class, actually. So I think I was in 9th grade.
So I think I just finished high school. Obviously, we were a bit ahead of New York. So I think we found out at like 2, 3 in the afternoon, just as school was getting. I was in PE at the time. Phys ed to you.
Yes, I do know what PE means.
We used to call it games as well. We used to call it games.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, we called it gym, to be honest.
Gym, game, yeah, same thing.
But
working backwards, I have this guy, Ricardo, as born in roughly 1976, because he was arrested in 1992 at the age of 16 for criminal possession of a handgun. So working your way back, 1976. Now, guns basically don't exist in the UK for the everyday citizen. I know we've discussed that you like to hunt and stuff, don't you?
Me? No, my family. I mean, where I grew up, it's very big. I personally, no. I mean, I will target. I'll shoot target practice, but
But you don't own a gun.
We do not right now. I told you I have a hatchet under our bed.
Right.
It's my line of defense.
That's not creepy at all. But
you don't have anything to protect yourself if someone broke into your house?
Under my bed, I have dust and whatever my little girl's lost under there. Probably an old dummy from back in the day and that toy that went missing.
Yeah.
You know, shit like that. But yeah, as far as I can tell, criminal possession of a gun is only one without a license, I would assume.
Yes, basically. I mean, it depends on the type of gun, but yes.
Yeah. Because there are still guns here, but if you saw a gun, you'd be like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
You'd be a bit shocked.
Turn around and run.
Yeah. I mean, you can't outrun a bullet, can you? Really?
No.
It's more knife crime here. It's very knifey. Mm-hmm. Bit stabby.
Me out. Like that stabbing sound from the movies. Like, it makes me cringe.
But this guy was eventually charged with a gun possession offence. He pleaded guilty to it. He was given 5 years.
This is in Brooklyn.
This is in America. Yeah, this is in Brooklyn. So in 1992, and he came again. It doesn't say when he came to America, but it must have been at some point before that, I would imagine. And so he's in America, 1992. Criminal possession of a handgun. He gets charged with a gun possession offence, 5 years probation with mandatory community service. Now, whenever I hear community service, I just think of picking up litter or trash.
Yeah.
On the side of a motorway.
That's a lot. Can be different things, but yeah, that's probably one of the most common.
Do you not use the term litter?
Yeah.
You do?
Littering is bad.
Oh, yeah, for littering. Yeah, okay. I get you.
Yeah, like if you're throwing something out your car window, we call that littering. I don't call just garbage litter.
You'd call it trash or garbage or whatever.
Yeah.
We don't say garbage here. Garbage just means really bad, like rubbish.
Yeah, I've heard you use it in that way before.
We would say take the bins out, not take the trash out. On January 13th, 1993, so a couple months after he was given this charge, but he's on probation, so he's not actually in jail. A man called Jose Rosa was murdered.
Definitely
Jose, okay. Jose Rosa was murdered in Brooklyn after he was shot in the head with a handgun. January 25th, 1993, 12 days later, Ricardo, who's now 17, he was due to see his probation officer because you have regular meetings with them to make sure you're law-abiding, I assume. But he failed to attend the meeting with him. He just didn't turn up. And then he suddenly disappeared from the US, returned back to Jamaica. So super sus at this point. So you got to think, was it Ricardo that killed him? Or was it just coincidental timing? What do you think?
Probably killed him.
Think he killed him?
I always go to, he's guilty in my head. Yeah. I don't know. I always lean towards that.
Keep listening to find out. Cliffhanger. So the story goes dark there for like 7 years. He probably just behaved himself. Or in Jamaica, they just didn't report anything. But in the year 2000, he came to the UK at that point using a fake passport. But which I thought, how can you enter a country on a fake passport? But again, this is before 9/11, just. So security was way lax back then. And he also used a fake name. I'll give you £100 if you can guess what his name was.
Oh, hell if I know. John Smith. Is it?
Yeah.
No way.
No, you're not.
Damn it.
No,
it's like the most common name ever, so that's why I said that.
His name was Wayne Alfonso McDonald.
Oh, yeah, no. Never would have got that. Alfonso.
He said he was a student. And what's mad is that he was granted leave to stay here. They let him stay, which is, you think, well, could have prevented some tragedy. Now, have you ever heard of the city of Bradford?
I mean, it rings a bell, but I'd have no idea where.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't ring a bell. I thought not. It doesn't ring a bell. Definitely doesn't ring a bell.
Well, maybe because we probably have a Bradford, Pennsylvania, I believe.
Probably.
That's probably why.
I did a case on someone in Bradford. I don't know. But it's in West Yorkshire again, quite close to Huddersfield and with Leeds as well. Rivals in like sports, just because of, Derby. We call them Derby, you call them derbies. The big derby. The derby between...
You call that a derby? That's funny.
Derby, yeah. The derby between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't bloody know.
I think of like roller derby or the derby at the fair, where it's like cars that freaking run into each other and stuff.
I don't mean that. I mean, we call a derby match. You would call it a rivalry
like a
game.
Rivalry.
Yeah, a grudge match, like from local rivals.
Mm-hmm.
We call those derbies, local derbies. I don't know why. But so Ricardo lived in Bradford in a rented flat, and he spent a lot of his free time at a cafe called the Young Lions Cafe, which was in Lum Lane. So a bit of research tells me that the Young Lions Cafe was Bradford's main meeting place for Afro-Caribbean youths and men in Bradford until its closure in the year 2000. Now, I think it's a coincidence that it closed the same year that he got to the UK. I don't think it's because he rocked up one day and they're like, fuck this, let's close it. It was basically attacked one night by a 100-strong mob of Pakistani Muslim youths, which resulted in the death of Dexter Coleman, who was 27. He died of gunshot wounds. After that, they just closed it down. Understandable.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't be like, right, what time's opening tomorrow? You just can't do that. But if we come back to our Ricardo again, this is weird. He used to drive down from Bradford to London, which is 200 miles away, to buy cocaine for what he called his drugs collective.
Which means?
I've never heard that term before.
He's just collecting drugs?
Well, yeah. My point is 200 miles away from Bradford to London. That's seen as quite far here.
Yeah.
But that's like neighbours for you, isn't it?
No, but I'm sure he could find some cocaine a little closer.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd think so.
I mean, this is what, 90s, you said?
Well, to 2000. Early 2000s.
Yeah, I'm sure it's around. Not that far away.
Yeah. Yeah, there's more places than London. But maybe as someone from Jamaica who didn't know, you know what I mean? How he ended up in Bradford is weird. But maybe if the culture's there, who knows? But the next part is the true crux of the story. So a year after he arrived in 2001, on October 19th, Ricardo was about 25 at this point, if we're doing our maths. He got into an altercation with a 33-year-old taxi driver named Mohammed Basharat. Now, it was said to be a mild incident of road rage because they sort of clipped each other's wing mirrors on the car. And Ricardo then blocks Mohammed's vehicle with his, and the pair sort of started a little bit of a fight. But it ended with Mohammed getting Ricardo in a headlock. Ricardo managed to escape when they both fell to the floor. And then Ricardo ran away, but as he did, he turned back and went, "You don't know who you're messing with. I'm going to kill you." Now, sadly, Ricardo stuck to his word on that one.
Oh, no.
And the following day, October 20th, 2001, Ricardo walks into a taxi office called the Little Horton Private Hire Taxi Office. I'm assuming Little Horton's in Bradford. And it's on Park Lane. And he was wearing a green balaclava, and he's got a gun.
Explain to my listeners what that is.
What, a balaclava?
Yeah.
A belly?
It's
belly
like
on belly.
Coat or something. Yeah.
A balaclava?
Jacket?
No, balaclava's a ski mask.
Oh, okay.
You know, like you pull it over your face and it's just got eyes cut out and a mouth. That's a balaclava.
Ski mask.
Mm-hmm. Ski mask, yeah. That's what robbers wear.
Got it.
We call it a balaclava. And a green one. Explain green to your listeners, or
shut up.
Are they good? Right. So he goes in with a handgun, and he fires 4 shots. One of the shots hits Mohammed Basharat in the head. Another hits him in the mouth, basically killed him instantly. The other 2 shots are assumed to not have hit anyone. I guess if he's shooting for the head and you're not an experienced shooter, he's probably missed his target a couple of times before he's actually hit him. And then what he did is he turned his gun on someone else, another taxi driver in the office, a guy called Jamshad Khan. But luckily, his gun jammed, and then he just fucked off and ran away.
Took off.
Yeah.
Oh, so obviously this gun was illegal because they don't have guns there. Just wondering, it couldn't be the same gun that he took with him, because like you said, before 9/11 they didn't really check your baggage very well.
I mean, if he's managed to leave Brooklyn, go to Jamaica,
oh yeah, I forgot he went back to Jamaica and then to
with a gun, keep it for 7 years, get into the UK.
I forgot about.
I mean, that's
pit stop in Jamaica.
Yeah, that is loyalty to a gun. If he's doing that,
he's probably just a straight up criminal and has his way of getting it in.
But you might be thinking, why did he shoot Jamshad Khan? He was just there in the taxi office. Well, Ricardo thought that he was a witness to the road rage crime, so he thought, shit, I recognise that guy. I better kill him. Because logic. My. Luckily, his gun jammed, like I say, and he didn't actually manage to shoot him. But unfortunately, Mohammed did pass away. He was 33, Mohammed, and he was a father of 4 as well, which is sad. But again, what do you think he did after he killed Mohammed?
Retreated to
Jamaica. He does the same thing. Never seen in Bradford again.
Oh.
So he just goes back home. Yeah, goes. Well, I mean, I don't know if he was tried there. I think he was tried in Leeds, actually. But yeah, he just went home again, went back to Jamaica. And
can he not be, what's that word? Taken back?
Extradited.
We'll
get there. We'll get there.
Oh, okay. When you're like, he's never been seen again, I was like, the end.
It's not that short.
Okay.
Yeah, don't jump the gun, pun intended. So it looks like here he's definitely got away with 1 murder, 1 attempted murder, and potentially a second murder in New York in 1993. But remember the cliff I left you on the edge of?
The edge of the cliff, the cliffhanger.
Let me bring you back off that cliff edge. 2 years after fleeing to Jamaica, Ricardo was arrested on August 5th, 2003 by US and Jamaican police. He was then extradited to New York in 2004 to stand trial for Jose Rosa's murder. He denied the offence, but the trial began October 6, 2005 regardless. Basically, here's what happened to Jose. No way. On January 13th, 1993, a gunman approached a stationary vehicle that contained 4 men, one of which was Jose Rosa. The gunman produced a pistol, fired some shots into the vehicle, aiming specifically at Jose. I keep saying Jose.
I mean, it's that J.
Yeah. It was shot 3 times while he was in the vehicle. Notice how I say vehicle, by the way, not vehicle.
Yeah. Vehicle, yeah.
You don't have to emphasize
they both sound correct to me. I wouldn't pick on you for the way you say it, but go on.
So as the 4 men attempted to get out of the vehicle, including Jose, Ricardo points his gun at one of the other guys, pulls the trigger, aims at his head. Now, whether it's down to him just being a rubbish shot or just luck again, but that guy managed to jump out of the way, so he was only shot in the leg. I don't know how aiming at someone's head they get shot in the leg, but, and again, really I use the word only, I use that word very loosely. Obviously, it's still horrible that he's been shot. But as Jose makes his way out of the car, he was obviously struggling due to his injuries. He falls to the ground right next to the car, and then the gunman just grabs him and just shoots him in the head, point blank, leaves him to die in the street, proper like hitman style. And the 3 survivors out of the car, they gave evidence during the trial, described the gunman as a guy called Ricky, a Jamaican guy from whom they bought weed from, or dope, grass.
Marijuana.
Yeah, weed. And so they identified Ricardo Linton as the gunman, and he didn't give any evidence because he was like, shit, they've got me here.
Yeah.
And then on October 19th, 2005, the jury over there finds Ricardo guilty of Jose Rosa's murder. He was handed a minimum term of 25 years. And he remained in the US prison system from that day until September 25th, 2020, or 2020, however you want to say it. So last year, when he was extradited to the UK this time. So he's gone from Jamaica to US, now to the UK, to stand trial for the murder of Mohammed Basharat. So again, he denies both charges, the murder and the attempted murder, denies them both. And then prosecutor Richard Wright, QC, which means Queen's Counsel, described the New York and Bradford murders as identical. Both involved handguns and shots to the head, and they were targeted attacks on the individuals. When Ricardo took to the stand, he said the jury got it wrong in the New York trial, and he insisted he'd been in London collecting drugs at the time of the Bradford murder.
Collecting drugs.
Yeah, it's a good alibi there.
Some people collect baseball cards, magnets. I collect drugs.
Nah, sorry, it wasn't me. I was collecting drugs at the time. It wasn't me. I was picking up my cocaine. He said he was dealing crack cocaine. He travelled from Bradford down to the capital to pick up a brick of the drug. I think a brick is a kilo.
Sounds right. I wouldn't know. Never done any, crack.
Well, yeah, I mean, have you bought any though? That's the key question.
No.
Have you ever bought and dealt crack cocaine, for the record?
No.
Okay, that's fine. So the prosecutor, Richard Wright, asks Ricardo, so twice in 8 years, you've been falsely implicated in the shooting of another man. And Ricardo goes, yeah. And then Richard Wright tells the jury that Ricardo was prepared to execute another man in cold blood because his pride had been bruised. He was plainly a man with a very short temper and a man who could not stand coming off second best. But most strikingly, whilst he may have been physically too weak to beat his opponent in a fair fight, because remember he got him in a headlock, he was willing to use a firearm to exact a wholly disproportionate revenge when he felt slighted. So you can't piss this guy off, he'll just shoot you.
Yeah, I mean, and revenge, it's not like it was in that moment.
I know, yeah.
He came back later.
Revenge for what?
Like, go cool down.
You get me in a headlock. Well, you know what revenge for that is, mate?
Death.
Yeah, death. Point blank. And Ricardo said he'd heard that a taxi driver had been shot and killed in Bradford, but after staying in London for 3 weeks, he returned to Jamaica. So this is sticking with this stupid story. He also denied being involved in the road raid incident with Mohammed Basharat the day before the murder. So he's denied even having an altercation with this guy. And after several weeks of this trial, this nonsense, August 11th this year, 2021, the trial came to a close. So this is only a couple of months, just last month. Obviously, that's probably when I heard it. So a jury at Bradford Crown Court, so he's back in Bradford finally, unanimously found him guilty of the murder of Mr. Basharat and the attempted murder of his colleague, Jamshad Khan. As I said at the start, he hasn't been sentenced yet. He's been remanded in custody and he's still there to this day. And he'll be sentenced on Monday, September 27th, 2021. One question I have is that he was in prison already for killing someone in America for 25 years. He got in 2005, I think I said. And then he got extradited here to be tried for this murder. Mm-hmm. So assuming he gets life with 20 to 30 years as a minimum, let's say, he serves out his sentence here for these two murders. But what about his American murder? What happens with that?
Does it get tacked on? I have no idea.
Because the separate jurisdictions, aren't there? The separate trials, separate cases, and separate laws. I don't know how one takes priority over the other.
Yeah.
Because that happened first as well.
I'm sorry, what was his sentence in America? 25 years, you said.
25 years, yeah.
And he was in the middle of serving that sentence when he was extradited?
Yeah. So he's done 15 years of that. I don't know if they found new evidence or... I'm not sure why it was only brought to trial this year and why he was extradited last year. It didn't really go into it.
Because it takes forever. Everything takes so long.
He's only got 10 left. Maybe he was up for probation or something and they thought, no, we want to keep him in prison.
I mean, he sounds like that's where he should be. But if he's already been found guilty, you said they're just working on the final sentence.
Yeah.
So what would be the typical sentencing for murder?
Well, murder Murder is a mandatory life sentence, but life here doesn't mean life.
Oh, right. It's not life without possibility of parole.
No, that would be a whole life tariff or a whole life order. And not many people get those. They're quite rare. And you get a life sentence with a minimum term to serve before being eligible for parole. So normally it's like between 20 and 30 years normally. So 25 years roughly. After 25 years, you can apply for parole. You can obviously get denied and you can stay in prison for longer, or you can sometimes come out. But yeah, they say life imprisonment, but it's not life. It's never life.
Right, and that's how we do it as well. There's life, but then there's usually appeals for parole, but unless it says without the possibility of parole for those especially heinous crimes.
Yeah, because we have a court of appeal here. I'm assuming you have the same. So if you can appeal your sentence, and it'll be reviewed by judges at the court of appeal to think if it's. But sometimes that can actually work against you, and they might give you more if they think. If they think they've been too lenient, yeah, they can give you. There was someone I read that where the court of appeal looked at it. I don't know if he'd appealed it, but they'd looked at it, and instead of giving him 20 years, they gave him. It might have been actually the Reinhard Sinaga I covered with you. I don't know if they upped it from 27 years to 30 years or something.
And that was just for
30 to 40 years.
Multiple cases of rape. Yeah. He didn't murder anybody, is what
he didn't murder anyone, but he did allegedly rape like 150 men.
And videotaped it all.
And drugged them so they didn't remember. Yeah. Yeah.
I do remember that case.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I'm here on Killer Stories to not talk about murder.
Not talk about a killer. Yeah. But yeah, that's the story of Ricardo Linton, bracket the murder of Mohammed Basharat, and Jose Rosa by proxy.
Jose.
Yeah.
Not Jose. Jose. So, Stu, where can everyone find you?
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you can listen to podcasts. I'm on YouTube, but I don't film my episodes anymore because it's too much effort. And I'm on TikTok also, and Twitter, and Instagram, and Facebook.
And you all have the same handle. I'm jealous of that.
Oh, no, everything apart from Facebook.
Facebook, that's right.
Which is just British podcast, it's called, yeah. I can't say murders.
You are the British podcast.
Yeah, British podcast.
British podcast.
Colonialism.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. We'll have I'm sure between your next seasons, we'll have another fun special together. Mm-hmm. Always fun to do. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again. Until next time. Cheerio.